My son Christopher stood beside me at the airport check-in counter. His hand rested on my shoulder like he actually cared. Everyone around us probably thought he was the perfect son. But the ticket he just handed me told a different story. It was one way, and he had no intention of coming back for me. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. Let me take you back to where this nightmare started. 3 months ago, my husband Leonard died of a heart attack while working in our garden. 67 years old, and I watched the love of my life collapse between the tomato plants we'd planted together every spring for 42 years. The funeral was beautiful. Our church was packed. Christopher gave a speech about what a great father Leonard had been. He cried real tears. I held his hand during the burial. I thought grief had brought us closer. I was wrong. 2 weeks after we buried Leonard, Christopher started visiting more often. At first, I was grateful. My baby boy, checking on his mama. We'd sit in the kitchen where I raised him, drinking sweet tea, talking about his daddy. He'd ask how I was managing, if I needed anything, if the bills were getting paid on time. "Mama, you know I worry about you," he'd say, his voice soft and caring. "This house is too big for you now, and the memories everywhere. Maybe it's time to think about your future." I should have seen it then. The way his eyes would drift to the family photos on the wall. The way he'd calculate something in his head when I mentioned Leonard's life insurance payout. The way Vanessa would squeeze his hand whenever I talked about the house Leonard and I had paid off 15 years ago. But I didn't see it. I was too busy drowning in grief. Christopher kept coming by. Every week turned into twice a week. He started bringing paperwork. "Just some things for you to sign, Mama, making sure everything's in order. Daddy would want you protected." I signed what he put in front of me. He was a financial planner. My son. I trusted him with my life. Then came the vacation idea. It was a Sunday after church. Vanessa made her famous peach cobbler. We sat in my dining room, the same table where I'd fed Christopher as a baby, where Leonard and I had celebrated every holiday, where our family had gathered for 40 years. "Mama, we've been thinking," Christopher started, glancing at Vanessa. "You need a break. Somewhere beautiful. Somewhere you can heal." "Hawaii," Vanessa added, her smile bright and convincing. "We found this amazing resort, right on the beach. You've always talked about seeing Hawaii, remember?" I had. Leonard and I had planned to go for our 40th anniversary. But his hours got cut at the plant, and we pushed it back. Then his health started declining. We never made it. "I can't afford Hawaii," I said, shaking my head. "Not with the funeral costs and everything." "That's the thing, Mama." Christopher reached across the table and took my hand. "We're paying. Consider it our gift. You raised me, sacrificed everything for me. Let us do this for you." My heart swelled. My baby boy, taking care of his mama. Just like his daddy would have wanted. "We leave Thursday," Vanessa said. "I already packed a bag for you. Don't worry about anything. Just show up and let us handle the rest." I should have asked more questions. Why so soon? Why had they already packed for me? Why didn't I need to see the itinerary? But I didn't ask. I was too touched, too grateful, too stupid. Thursday morning came fast. Christopher picked me up at 6 a.m. The sun wasn't even up yet. "Early flight gets the best price," he explained when I questioned the hour. I climbed into his BMW, still half asleep, clutching my purse. Vanessa sat in the front seat, typing on her phone, barely acknowledging me. The drive to the airport was quiet, too quiet. I tried to make conversation, asked about their plans for the resort, what activities they'd booked, whether the hotel had good food. "It's all taken care of, Mama," Christopher kept saying. "Just relax." We pulled up to departures. Christopher grabbed what I thought was my suitcase from the trunk. We walked inside together. The airport was already crowded. Families heading off on adventures, couples holding hands. Everyone looked happy. We approached the check-in counter. The airline agent smiled at us. "Good morning. Where are you flying today?" "Just her," Christopher said, nodding toward me. "One passenger." That's when my stomach dropped. "What do you mean, just me? Aren't you coming?" "Change of plans, Mama." Christopher wouldn't meet my eyes. He handed documents to the agent. "We can't make it this trip, but you should still go. You deserve it." "But I can't go to Hawaii alone. I've never traveled by myself. I don't even know where the hotel is." "You'll figure it out." Vanessa finally looked up from her phone. Her voice was cold, flat, like I was bothering her. "You're a grown woman." The agent printed my boarding pass. Christopher took it and pressed it into my hand along with the documents. "Your flight leaves in an hour. Gate C12. Have a wonderful trip, Mama." He kissed my forehead. The same forehead he'd kissed as a little boy when I tucked him into bed. The same forehead I'd pressed my lips to when he had fevers. When he graduated high school. When he married Vanessa. Then he walked away. Both of them walked away. I stood there, frozen, watching my son and his wife disappear into the crowd. My hands shook as I looked down at what he'd given me. A boarding pass. Not to Hawaii, to Phoenix, Arizona. A photocopy of my driver's license. And a sticky note in Christopher's handwriting. "The house needs to be cleared out. We're listing it next month. This is better for everyone." Better for everyone. The words hit me like a fist to the chest. I couldn't breathe. People rushed past me, dragging suitcases, chasing flights, living their normal lives. And I stood there, abandoned by my own child, holding a one-way ticket to a city I'd never been to. I had $43 in my purse, no credit cards. Christopher had convinced me months ago that I didn't need them. "Too easy to get scammed at your age, Mama. Just use cash. I'll make sure you always have what you need." No phone charger. My cell was already at 60% battery. No luggage. The suitcase Christopher had carried inside? He'd taken it with him when he left. I walked to a bench near the bathrooms and sat down. My legs wouldn't hold me anymore. An elderly black woman sat beside me, noticed my tears, and asked if I was okay. "My son just left me here," I whispered. The words felt unreal, impossible. "He left me here with nothing." She squeezed my hand. Didn't say anything. What could she say? We both knew what this was. We both understood that particular kind of betrayal. The kind that comes from your own blood. I sat on that bench for 30 minutes, watching people hug their families, watching children wave goodbye to grandparents, watching the world move around me like I wasn't even there. That's when it hit me. The papers I'd been signing, the way Christopher had started asking about my finances right after Leonard died, the way he'd insisted on helping with the estate paperwork, the way he'd smiled when I mentioned the life insurance money. He hadn't been protecting me. He'd been positioning himself. And I'd let him. But here's what Christopher didn't know. What I hadn't told anyone except Leonard. 20 years ago, when Christopher was in college and money got tight, Leonard and I nearly lost everything. We'd co-signed on a business loan for Leonard's brother. The business failed. We almost lost our house, our savings, everything we'd built. That experience taught Leonard something. He became obsessed with having a safety net, a backup plan that no one could touch. Not the bank, not the IRS, not even family. He opened a separate account, in my name only, at a bank across town that we never used for anything else. He called it our nuclear option. Every month, he'd deposit a little bit, not enough to notice, just enough to build something real over time. When Leonard got sick, he made me promise something. "Evelyn," he said, holding my hand in that hospital bed, "if anything happens to me and things go wrong, you use that account. You protect yourself first, even if it's from Christopher, especially if it's from Christopher." I'd been shocked. Christopher would never hurt me. Leonard just squeezed my hand tighter. People change when money's involved, baby. Even good people. Even our son. Promise me you'll protect yourself. I promised. And I'd kept that account secret. Even after Leonard died. Even when Christopher was asking about every penny, every asset, every account. I never mentioned it. That account had $68,000 in it. I pulled out my phone, found the number for Franklin Mitchell, the attorney Leonard had used for years. A good man. Someone Leonard trusted completely. Mr. Mitchell? My voice cracked. This is Evelyn Harris, Leonard's wife. I need help, and I need it right now. Mrs. Harris? He sounded concerned. What's wrong? Everything, I said. Then I told him. All of it. The airport, the ticket, the note, the papers I'd signed, my suspicions about what Christopher had done. Franklin was quiet for a long moment. Then, Mrs. Harris, don't get on that plane. Stay exactly where you are. I'm sending someone to pick you up. We need to look at what you signed. And if what I think happened actually happened, your son is in serious trouble. Can you fix this? I asked. Tears were streaming down my face. Can you get my life back? We're going to do better than that, Franklin said. His voice was steel. We're going to make sure Christopher learns exactly what happens when you betray your own mother. Stay on the line with me. Help is on the way. I stayed on that bench, phone pressed to my ear, listening to Franklin make calls, watching my son's plan crumble before it even started. Christopher thought he'd gotten rid of me, thought he'd shipped his mom off to Phoenix with nothing so he could take everything Leonard and I had built. But that wasn't even the worst part. What I didn't know yet, what I wouldn't discover until Franklin's investigator dug deeper, was that Christopher had already refinanced my house, forged my signature on new loan documents, taken out $200,000 against the property, money that was already gone. Spent, vanished. He wasn't just stealing my future. He'd already stolen my present. And he thought I'd never find out. Franklin's investigator found the refinancing documents in less than 3 hours. My signature looked perfect. Too perfect. Christopher had traced it, practiced it, made it look exactly like the way I signed my name when my arthritis wasn't acting up. He'd planned this for months. Franklin picked me up from the airport himself, drove me to his office in his silver Cadillac. Didn't say much during the ride, just kept shaking his head. When we got to his office building downtown, he walked me past the receptionist, past the conference rooms, straight into his private office with the big windows overlooking the city. Sit down, Mrs. Harris, he said, pulling out a leather chair for me. We have work to do. He spread the documents across his desk. Loan papers, refinancing agreements, property transfers I'd never authorized, my signature on every single page. My son had been busy. The $200,000 is gone, Franklin said, pointing to bank statements. Wire transfers to offshore accounts, luxury car purchases. He bought Vanessa a Mercedes 2 weeks ago, spent $15,000 at a jewelry store, another $30,000 on what looks like cryptocurrency investments. My hands trembled. Can we get it back? Some of it. Maybe. But Mrs. Harris, that's not even the biggest problem. Franklin pulled out another folder. He didn't just refinance your house. He set up a guardianship petition, filed it last week. He's claiming you're mentally incompetent, that you can't manage your affairs, that you need him to make decisions for you. The room spun. What does that mean? It means if that petition goes through, Christopher gets legal control of everything, your house, your accounts, your life. You'd need his permission to spend your own money, to make your own choices. He could put you in a nursing home and you couldn't stop him. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. My own son, the baby I'd carried for 9 months, the child I'd nursed through fevers and scraped knees and broken hearts. He was trying to erase me, to lock me away, to take everything Leonard and I had built and leave me with nothing. What do I do? My voice came out small. broken. Franklin leaned forward. His eyes were kind but fierce. We fight back, and we do it smart. Leonard told me about your emergency account, the one Christopher doesn't know about. We're going to use that money to protect you. Legal fees, investigation costs. Whatever it takes. How long do I have? The guardianship hearing is in 2 weeks. We need to prove you're perfectly competent, that Christopher forged documents, that he's been stealing from you, and we need to do it fast. Franklin pulled out a legal pad and started writing. First thing, you can't go back to that house. Christopher has keys. He thinks you're on a plane to Phoenix. When he finds out you're not, he's going to panic. Panicked people do dangerous things. Where do I go? I have a colleague. Runs a senior living community on the east side. Beautiful place. Independent living. Not a nursing home. Apartments. Activities. People your age living their lives. She owes me a favor. You can move in today. Temporary. Until we sort this out. I thought about my house. The home Leonard and I had made. Every room filled with memories. Christopher's baby pictures on the walls. Our wedding photos. 42 years of life together. I can't just leave my home. Mrs. Harris, Franklin's voice went soft. That house isn't yours anymore. Not legally. Not until we fix what Christopher did. And if you go back there, he might hurt you. Not physically, maybe, but emotionally, legally. He'll manipulate you, gaslight you, make you doubt yourself. That's what abusers do. Abuser. The word hit me like cold water. My son was an abuser. Okay, I whispered. Okay, I'll go. Franklin made the call right there, spoke to someone named Ms. Patricia, explained my situation in careful, professional terms. When he hung up, he smiled. You're all set. She's holding a 1-bedroom apartment for you, furnished. You can move in tonight. Rent's covered for the first month while we handle the legal work. That afternoon, Franklin drove me to Graceful Years Senior Living Community. The name sounded fancy. I expected something sterile, institutional, a place where people went to wait for death. But when we pulled up, I saw gardens, real gardens with flowers and benches, people walking on paved trails, a big building that looked more like a nice hotel than a nursing home. Through the windows, I could see a dining room with actual tablecloths, a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. Ms. Patricia met us at the entrance. She was younger than I expected, maybe 50, warm smile, firm handshake. She led us through the building, pointing out the community room, the fitness center, the beauty salon. We have activities every day, she explained. Book clubs, gardening groups, movie nights. But nobody's required to participate. This is independent living. You do what you want. Come and go as you please. You're not a patient here, Mrs. Harris. You're a resident. My apartment was on the 2nd floor, small but clean. A living room with a couch and TV. A bedroom with a real bed, not a hospital bed. A kitchenette. A bathroom with grab bars that didn't make me feel old, just safe. I'll leave you to settle in, Ms. Patricia said. Dinner's at 6 in the main dining room if you want company. Or you can eat here, whatever feels right. After she left, I sat on the couch and cried. Not sad tears, not exactly, just tears. Release, exhaustion, relief, terror, everything at once. I didn't have my clothes, my photos, my keepsakes. Everything I owned was still in that house. The house Christopher was probably already measuring for new furniture, but I was safe. For the first time in 3 months, I felt safe. That evening I went down to dinner, partly because I was hungry, mostly because I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts anymore. The dining room was fuller than I expected, maybe 30 people, some at tables alone, most in groups of 3 or 4, laughing, talking, living. I stood in the doorway, unsure where to sit. Then I heard a voice. Baby, you look lost. Come sit with us." An elderly woman with silver hair and the most beautiful smile waved me over. She sat with 2 other women at a table by the window. I walked over slowly. "I'm Dorothy," the woman said. "This is Ruby and Gloria. You're new. We can always tell. You've got that 'what am I doing here' look in your eyes." "Evelyn," I managed. "I'm Evelyn Harris." "Well, Evelyn Harris, sit yourself down. Ruby, move your purse. Give the woman some room." I sat. A server brought me a menu. The food looked good. Real food. Not whatever I'd imagined old people ate in places like this. "So, what's your story?" Ruby asked. She was smaller than Dorothy, sharper. Her eyes missed nothing. "Husband die? Kids put you away? Or did you choose this?" "Ruby, don't interrogate the woman," Gloria said. She was the oldest of the 3, maybe mid-70s, quiet but present. "She just got here." "It's okay," I said. Then, before I could stop myself, the whole story came pouring out. Leonard dying, Christopher's visits, the airport, the forged documents, everything. When I finished, the table was silent. Then Dorothy reached across and squeezed my hand. "Baby," she said, "your son is a snake. But you're here now, and you've got a lawyer. That means you're fighting back. Good. Too many women just accept it when their kids treat them like garbage. Not you. You're a fighter." "I don't feel like a fighter," I admitted. "I feel like a fool." "That's different," Gloria said quietly. "You trusted your child. That's not foolish. That's love. He's the one who broke that trust. Not you." Ruby nodded. "My daughter tried something similar. Not this bad, but similar. Wanted me to sign over my condo to her, for tax purposes. I told her where she could put her tax purposes. Haven't spoken in 3 years." "You don't miss her?" I asked. Ruby shrugged. "I miss who I thought she was. But that person never existed. I was just too busy being her mama to notice she was a user. You'll learn. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're stuck with." We ate dinner together. They told me about the community, the good activities and the boring ones, which residents to avoid, which staff members were sweethearts. By the time dessert came, I was actually laughing, actually feeling something other than grief and betrayal. "You'll be okay," Dorothy said as we left the dining room. "It won't feel like it for a while. But you will, and we'll help. That's what we do here. We help each other survive our ungrateful children." That night, I lay in my new bed, in my new apartment, in my new life. My phone buzzed, a text from Christopher. "Mama, did you make it to Phoenix okay? Call me when you land. Love you." Love you. 2 words that meant nothing anymore. 2 words that tasted like poison. I didn't respond. Franklin had told me not to. "Radio silence," he'd said. "Let him think you're exactly where he put you. Let him get comfortable. Then we strike." But I wasn't even thinking about revenge yet. I was thinking about the papers I'd signed, wondering what else Christopher had forged, what else he'd stolen. Over the next week, Franklin's investigator dug deeper, found more irregularities, more forged signatures. Christopher had opened credit cards in my name, taken out a personal loan using my house as collateral, even filed for a reverse mortgage that hadn't been processed yet. The total damage? Almost $350,000. Most of it gone, spent, vanished into Christopher and Vanessa's lifestyle. "We have enough," Franklin told me during one of our meetings. "Enough to prove fraud. Enough to stop the guardianship petition. Enough to file criminal charges if you want to go that far." "Criminal charges means prison," I said. "For my son." "Mrs. Harris, your son tried to steal your entire life. He forged legal documents, committed wire fraud, identity theft. These aren't small crimes. These are felonies. I sat with that. My baby boy in prison, orange jumpsuit, handcuffs, visiting hours behind glass. But then I thought about that airport bench, the sticky note in his handwriting, the cold way Vanessa had looked at me, the months of manipulation and lies. "Do it," I said. "File everything. Criminal charges, civil lawsuit, all of it." Franklin nodded. "There's one more thing we need to do. We need to get you into that house. Get your belongings, your personal items, before Christopher realizes what's happening." "When?" "Tomorrow. He and Vanessa are scheduled to fly out for a weekend trip, Miami. They booked the flights 2 months ago. They'll be gone from Friday morning to Sunday night. We go in Friday afternoon, moving truck, police escort if necessary. We empty that house of everything that belongs to you." "And then what?" "And then we change the locks, post a notice that the property is in legal dispute, and we wait for Christopher to come home to find out his mother isn't as helpless as he thought." Friday came. Franklin picked me up at noon. We drove to my house, to Leonard's and my house, with a moving truck following behind. Dorothy, Ruby, and Gloria insisted on coming. "You need witnesses," Dorothy said. "And you need friends. We're both." When we pulled up, my chest tightened. The lawn needed mowing. Leonard always kept it perfect. The roses by the mailbox were dying. I'd planted those roses when Christopher was born. Franklin unlocked the door with the key I'd given him. We walked inside. The house looked different. Wrong. Vanessa had already started redecorating. New paint in the living room, different curtains. My wedding photo was gone from the mantel, replaced with some generic art piece that probably cost more than our first car. "Take your time," Franklin said. "Take everything that matters. Photos, documents, keepsakes, clothes. We have room." I walked through the house in a daze. Dorothy and Ruby packed my clothes. Gloria carefully wrapped my wedding china. The movers took my furniture, the pieces Leonard and I had bought together, the rocking chair where I'd nursed Christopher, the dining table where we'd celebrated every holiday. In Christopher's old bedroom, now Vanessa's home office, I found something that made my blood run cold. A folder labeled Mama's Accounts. Inside were copies of all my financial documents, bank statements, insurance policies, even my Social Security card. Christopher had been studying my life like a textbook, planning exactly how to take it apart. But there was something else in that folder, something I didn't expect. A letter, handwritten, from Vanessa to Christopher, dated 6 months before Leonard died. "Baby, I know this is hard, but your mother has too much. Your father's pension, the life insurance, the house, it's all just sitting there while we struggle with bills. She doesn't need all that money at her age. What's she going to do with it? We have our whole lives ahead of us. We deserve that security more than she does. Once your father is gone, she'll be vulnerable. That's when we make our move. She trusts you completely. Use that. By this time next year, everything she has will be ours, and she'll never even know what happened." My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the letter. They'd planned this. Before Leonard even died. They'd been waiting for him to pass so they could rob me. "Mrs. Harris?" Franklin appeared in the doorway. "You okay? You look pale." I handed him the letter, watched his face darken as he read it. "This changes things," he said quietly. "This proves premeditation. This isn't just financial fraud. This is elder abuse, conspiracy. This is serious prison time for both of them." "Good," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine anymore. It sounded harder, colder. "I want them to pay for every single thing they did, every lie, every forged signature, every night I cried thinking I'd lost my mind." We finished packing. The movers took the last load. Franklin had a locksmith change every lock on every door, posted legal notices on the windows. The house looked empty now, hollow, like something had died inside it. Maybe something had. We drove back to Graceful Years. My entire life packed into a moving truck. 42 years of memories reduced to boxes and furniture. But I wasn't sad anymore. I was angry. And anger, I was learning, was so much better than grief. That night, Dorothy, Ruby, Gloria, and I had dinner in my apartment. We ordered pizza, ate it straight from the box like teenagers, drank wine that Ruby had smuggled in. To Evelyn, Dorothy raised her glass. Who's about to teach her son the most expensive lesson of his life? We clinked glasses. Laughed. For the first time in months, I felt something close to happiness. My phone buzzed. A text from Christopher. He was at the airport in Miami. Just landed. Having a great time. Missing me. Hoping Phoenix was treating me well. I smiled. Let him think I was 1,000 miles away. Let him think his plan had worked. Sunday night would come soon enough. He'd come home to an empty house. Changed locks. Legal notices. And he'd realize his mama wasn't in Phoenix at all. She was right here in town. With a lawyer. With evidence. With friends. With a fury he'd never seen before. But what Christopher didn't know yet, what would destroy him completely, was that I'd already filed for emergency protection orders, filed formal complaints with the state attorney general, submitted everything to the police fraud division. By the time he turned his key in that new lock and realized it didn't work, arrest warrants would already be issued. My son thought he'd buried me, thought he'd shipped me off to die alone in Phoenix while he lived in my house, spent my money, and forgot I existed. He was about to learn something Leonard knew 42 years ago, something he'd tried to teach our son but Christopher never learned. Never underestimate a black woman who's been pushed too far. Because when she finally pushes back, the whole world shakes. Sunday evening, my phone started ringing. Christopher's name lit up the screen. Once, twice, 5 times, 10 times. I didn't answer. Just watched it buzz on the coffee table while Dorothy, Ruby, Gloria, and I played cards in my apartment. "Let it ring," Ruby said, laying down a queen of hearts. "Let him sweat." The call stopped, then the voicemail started. I put my phone on speaker so we could all hear. "Mama, where are you? I'm at the house and the locks are changed. There's some kind of legal notice on the door. Call me back, I'm worried sick." Worried sick. Like I was the one who'd done something wrong. The second voicemail was different, angrier. "Mama, what the hell is going on? Why can't I get into my own house? Who changed the locks? Call me right now." His own house, not our house, not the house Leonard and I built a life in. His house. The third voicemail made Dorothy laugh out loud. "You know what? Fine, don't call back. But I'm calling the police. You can't just lock me out of my property. I know my rights. This is illegal." "Oh, baby," Dorothy said, shaking her head. "He's about to find out exactly how legal this is. Franklin had warned me this would happen. He'll try everything," he'd said. "Manipulation, guilt, anger, threats. Then he'll probably show up wherever you are. You need to be ready. Don't engage. Don't explain. Just let the legal system do its job." Monday morning, Christopher found me. I was in the community garden with Gloria, planting tomatoes. The same tomatoes Leonard and I used to plant together. Gloria was teaching me about companion planting, how basil keeps the bugs away, how marigolds help tomatoes grow stronger. I heard his voice before I saw him. "Mama!" I turned. Christopher stood at the garden gate. He looked terrible, unshaven, wild eyes, his shirt wrinkled like he'd slept in it. Vanessa stood behind him, her arms crossed, her face hard. My heart still jumped. My baby. My son, suffering. Then I remembered the letter, the forged signatures, the airport bench. "Mrs. Harris doesn't want to speak with you," Gloria said, standing up. She was smaller than Christopher, but somehow seemed bigger. "You need to leave. This is between me and my mother." Christopher pushed through the gate, walked toward me. Mama, what's going on? Why are you here? Why did you change the locks? I looked at him. Really looked at him. Tried to find the little boy I'd raised. The teenager who'd cried when his first girlfriend broke his heart. The young man who'd danced with me at his wedding. He wasn't there anymore. Maybe he'd never been there at all. I know what you did, I said quietly. All of it. The refinancing, the forged signatures, the guardianship petition, the money you stole. The plan you and Vanessa made before your daddy even died. Christopher's face went pale. Mama, I don't know what you're talking about. Who's been filling your head with these lies? The lies? My voice got louder. The lies are every word that's come out of your mouth for the past 3 months. The lies are the papers you had me sign. The lies are that ticket to Phoenix. The lies are telling me you loved me while you were stealing everything your father and I worked for. You're confused, Vanessa said, stepping forward. Her voice was syrupy sweet, condescending. You're grieving. You're not thinking clearly. That's why we were trying to help you, to protect you. Protect me? I stood up, dirt on my hands, fire in my chest. You left me at an airport with $43 and a one-way ticket. You planned to lock me out of my own life. That's not protection. That's abuse. Mama, please. Christopher reached for my hand. I pulled back. Just come home. We can talk about this. Work it out. Family doesn't sue family. You're right, I said. Family doesn't sue family. Family also doesn't forge documents, doesn't steal, doesn't abandon their mother at an airport like trash. I have rights to that house, Christopher said. His voice was getting desperate now. Daddy would have wanted me to have it. He told me. He promised me. That was a lie. I knew it instantly. Leonard would never have promised our home to Christopher. Leonard built that house for us, for our marriage, for our life together. Your daddy, I said, my voice shaking, would be ashamed of you. Ashamed of what you've become. What you tried to do to me. Christopher's face twisted. The mask was slipping. You know what, Mama? You're just a bitter old woman who can't let go. Daddy's gone. That house is too much for you. That money is wasted on you. You're going to die soon anyway. Why should you have everything while Vanessa and I struggle? There it was. The truth. Finally. I wasn't his mother anymore. I was an obstacle, an inconvenience, a bank account that talked back. Get out, I said. Get out of this garden, get out of my life, and wait for the police to find you. Because they're coming, Christopher. They're coming for you and your wife. And when they're done, you're going to understand exactly what it feels like to lose everything. Christopher stared at me. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. The police? Mama, you really are losing it. I didn't do anything illegal. You signed those papers. You authorized everything. You're just a confused old woman who's going to look like a fool when this goes to court. We'll see, I said. Franklin had told me not to reveal what evidence we had. Let Christopher think he was safe. Let him get comfortable. People make mistakes when they feel safe. Christopher and Vanessa left. I watched them walk away. Watched my son disappear for what I knew would be the last time. Gloria put her arm around me. You did good, baby. That was hard. But you did good. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Christopher's face, the anger, the entitlement. When had he become that person? When had I stopped being his mother and started being his victim? I got up, made tea, sat in my little living room and tried to understand how everything had gone so wrong. My phone buzzed. A text from Franklin. It's done. Warrants issued. They'll be arrested tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning. My son would be in handcuffs, in a police car, in a cell. I should have felt victorious, but mostly I felt empty. The next few weeks were a blur. Christopher and Vanessa were arrested at their apartment. charged with elder abuse, fraud, forgery, identity theft. The story made the local news. Local financial planner accused of defrauding elderly mother. My phone rang constantly. People I hadn't spoken to in years. Neighbors, church members. Everyone wanting to know if it was true. If my son really did those things. I stopped answering. Stopped explaining. Let Franklin handle everything. The evidence was overwhelming. The forged documents, the wire transfers, Vanessa's letter, my testimony, Christopher's own texts and emails where he discussed managing Mama's assets and getting access to the insurance money. Their lawyer tried to make a deal. Franklin said no. They tried to destroy you, Mrs. Harris. They don't get to walk away from this. The preliminary hearing was set for 6 weeks out. Christopher and Vanessa made bail. I got a restraining order. They couldn't come within 500 feet of me. I should have been relieved, but I kept thinking about Christopher as a little boy, how he'd climb into my lap when he was scared, how he'd hold my hand crossing the street, how he'd tell me I was the best mama in the whole world. Where did that little boy go? When did he die? Or had he never existed at all? 2 weeks before the hearing, Franklin called me to his office. His voice on the phone was strange, careful. Mrs. Harris, I need you to come down here. I found something you need to see. When I got there, Franklin looked like he'd aged 10 years. He had a small metal box on his desk, the kind people use for important documents. What is this? I asked. It was in Leonard's safety deposit box. The bank just released it to me as part of the estate proceedings. It was supposed to be given to you 6 months after his death, but with everything that happened, it got delayed. He pushed the box toward me. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter, in Leonard's handwriting, addressed to me, dated 3 weeks before he died. My darling Evelyn, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And if Franklin is giving this to you, it means I was right about Christopher. Baby, I need to tell you something I should have told you when I was alive, but I couldn't. I couldn't break your heart like that while I was still here to see it. Christopher tried to kill me. Not with his hands, not with poison or violence, but he tried. 6 months ago, when I had that first heart attack, the small one, Christopher came to visit me in the hospital. You'd gone home to rest. The nurses had stepped out. He stood by my bed and asked about my life insurance, about the house, about what would happen to all that money when I died. I told him it would go to you, obviously, that you'd be taken care of, that you'd be comfortable. He said, but eventually it comes to me, right? When Mama passes? And I said, son, your Mama's only 67. She could live another 20, 30 years. Why are you thinking about this? He got quiet. Then he said something I'll never forget. 30 years is a long time to wait. Evelyn, the look in his eyes. He wasn't my son anymore. He was a stranger, a dangerous stranger. The next day, when you brought me my medications, I noticed they'd been tampered with. The pills looked wrong. Different size, different color. You didn't notice because you were so tired, so worried. But I noticed. I didn't take them. I told the nurse. She tested them. They weren't my heart medication. They were blood thinners, double strength, enough to cause a major bleed in someone with my condition. The hospital couldn't prove where they came from. Christopher denied everything, said maybe I was confused from the medication, said maybe a nurse made a mistake. But I knew. And from that day on, I knew I had to protect you, from our own son. That's why I set up the emergency account. That's why I made you promise to protect yourself. That's why I told Franklin everything, made him promise to help you when I was gone. I'm sorry, baby. Sorry I didn't tell you while I was alive. Sorry I left you to discover the truth about our son alone. But I couldn't stand to see your heart break. Couldn't stand to see you suffer that knowledge while I was still there. Christopher is not the boy we raised. I don't know when he changed. Maybe he was always this way, and we just didn't see it. Maybe the money corrupted him. Maybe we failed him somehow. But he's dangerous, Evelyn. Not just greedy. Dangerous. And I need you to protect yourself. Don't feel guilty. Don't blame yourself. Don't let him manipulate you with memories of the little boy he used to be. That little boy is gone. If he ever existed at all. I love you. I'll always love you. And from wherever I am, I'm watching over you. I'm making sure you're safe. I'm making sure our son doesn't destroy you the way he destroyed me. Be strong, my darling. Be ruthless if you have to be. And know that every choice you make to protect yourself is a choice I support. A choice I made possible. A choice that honors the 42 years we had together. You're not alone. You were never alone. I made sure of that. All my love, forever and always, Leonard. The letter fell from my hands. My whole body shook. Leonard knew. Leonard had known for 6 months, had lived with that knowledge, had died with it. My son had tried to kill his own father. The hospital records confirm it, Franklin said quietly. The medication switch, the investigation, it's all there. They couldn't prove anything, but Leonard knew. I couldn't speak, couldn't think. The room was spinning. There's more, Franklin said. He pulled out another document. Leonard didn't just set up the emergency account. He restructured his entire estate, changed his will 3 weeks before he died. If anything happened to him under suspicious circumstances, and if you were endangered or defrauded within 2 years of his death, the estate would be placed in an unbreakable trust. Christopher would be permanently disinherited. Every penny would go to charities in Leonard's name. Christopher couldn't touch it even if you died. He knew, I whispered. He knew Christopher would come after me. He knew. And he made sure Christopher couldn't win, even if the worst happened, even if Christopher succeeded. Leonard made sure our son would get nothing. I thought about Leonard in that hospital bed, holding my hand, making me promise to protect myself. He'd been protecting me even then, even when he was dying, even when he knew our son had tried to kill him. The hearing happened 3 weeks later. I sat in the courtroom and watched Christopher enter in a suit, looking repentant, looking like a concerned son who'd made some mistakes, until Franklin presented the hospital records, the medication switch, Leonard's letter. The timeline showing Christopher's planning had started before the first heart attack. The judge's face went hard. Mr. Harris, are you aware that the prosecutor is considering additional charges, attempted murder? Because that's what this evidence suggests. Christopher's face crumbled. His lawyer tried to object, but the damage was done. The case didn't go to trial. Christopher took a plea deal, 5 years in federal prison for elder fraud. Vanessa got 3 years. Full restitution ordered, though most of the money was gone. Community service after release. Permanent restraining order. I sat in that courtroom and felt nothing. No victory, no satisfaction, just emptiness. My son was going to prison. My husband had died knowing his son tried to kill him. 42 years of family, of love, of building a life together. All of it was ashes. That night, back at Graceful Years, Dorothy, Ruby, and Gloria sat with me in my apartment. We didn't talk much, just sat together. Sometimes that's enough. You did the right thing, Dorothy finally said. Did I? I asked. My son's going to prison. My husband died protecting me from his own child. What kind of mother raises a son like that? The kind of mother who loved him, Gloria said softly. The kind who trusted him. That's not your failure, baby. That's his. You didn't make him steal, didn't make him lie, didn't make him forget who raised him. He chose that. Your husband loved you enough to protect you even after death, Ruby added. That's not a tragedy. That's a gift. He gave you the tools to survive, to fight back, to live. Honor that gift. Live the life he made possible. I looked around my small apartment, at these 3 women who'd become my family, at this new life I'd built from ruins. I'd lost my son, lost my home, lost the future I'd imagined, lost the illusion that family meant safety. But I'd gained something too: truth, strength, freedom, real friends, a life that was mine, not built on memories or obligations or guilt, but truly mine. 6 months later, I stood in that community garden planting tomatoes again. The ones from last season had grown tall and strong. Gloria had been right about the basil and marigolds. My phone buzzed. A letter from Christopher, forwarded through Franklin because of the restraining order. I almost deleted it, almost let it disappear unread, but I opened it. Mama, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything now. I know I destroyed everything. I was greedy, angry, stupid. I thought I deserved what you and Daddy built. I thought you owed me. I was wrong. About everything. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just needed you to know I'm sorry. And I'll spend the rest of my life regretting what I did. What I became. The son I failed to be. I read it twice. Looked for manipulation. For lies. For the Christopher who'd looked at me in that garden and called me a bitter old woman. Maybe he was sincere. Maybe prison had changed him. Maybe he'd finally understood what he'd done. Or maybe he was still playing games, still trying to manipulate, still hoping I'd be the same trusting mother I'd always been. I'd never know for sure. And that was okay, because it didn't matter anymore. I deleted the message, went back to my tomatoes. Dorothy came over with lemonade. Ruby brought Gloria, who was carrying a puzzle she'd bought at the craft store. We spent the afternoon together, planting, talking, laughing, living. That evening, as the sun set over graceful years, I thought about Leonard, about his last gift to me, his last act of love. He'd known I'd need to be strong, known I'd need to be ruthless, known I'd need to choose myself over the son we'd raised together. And somehow, even in death, he'd made that choice possible, had given me permission to survive, to fight, to live. I wasn't the woman I'd been 6 months ago. That woman had died on an airport bench, clutching a one-way ticket and $43. This woman, the one planting tomatoes, playing cards with friends, building a life from scratch, she was stronger, harder, wiser. She'd lost her son. But she'd found herself, and in the end, that was the only inheritance that mattered. Thanks for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please leave a like and subscribe. Have you experienced something similar? Share your story in the comments below.